Hey, what's up? It's Jim, and I just got back from the new film Moonrise Kingdom, which is the latest from Wes Anderson. Two kids, Sam and Susie, who have decided to run away together in the small New England island community. Sam is a khaki scout, and he is an orphan. Actually, he lives in a foster home, who the foster home does not want him back, and they want social services to take care of him. After he leaves Camp Ivanhoe, which is where the khaki scouts call home, and Susie lives on the island with her parents, Bill Murray and Frances McDormand. They met the previous summer when she was doing a production of Noah's Ark, and she was, I believe, a raven, and they fell in love and have been corresponding ever since and have planned out how they're going to run away together. It works in a Wes Anderson movie because they're such like little know-it-alls. The Sam character is like the least popular khaki scout by a wide margin, as Ed Norton says in the film, who is the scoutmaster. It's very much like a 12-year-old fantasy love story. They camp out on this like little beach, and it almost feels like I think they believe they could just live there forever, or they just really haven't even thought about it that much. But there's kind of a sweetness, definitely a naivete to like everything they're doing. I really went on this adventure with them. This reminds me of like, I guess in 2009, Where the Wild Things Are, and Wes Anderson's last movie, Fantastic Mr. Fox, came out, and it was like kind of like hipster kid movies. It's both kind of hip and young and funny and well plotted out. I mean, I can also tell while watching this that I think animation served Wes Anderson very well, because he seems a lot more plotted out in this film. He seems a lot more comfortable in his own style. He wants to be Wes Anderson again, you know, and he's Wes Anderson almost doing Wes Anderson, almost like he missed it in a way. Wes Anderson's style feels more at home with these kids and with their story, you know, almost like he needs a kind of fantasy world. Like Rushmore, it's like these two kids finding first love, and you're seeing like kind of how they understand love at the time. I mean, you know, it's such a juvenile way of love, because the way they like when they're alone on the island together in their underwear, everything they want to do like when they're alone is very sweet and nice, you know, nothing too sexual. Almost like, I mean, there was a recent Bob's Burgers episode where the older daughter has like all this weird erotic fiction, but it's all like people just touching their butts, because she doesn't really know what sex is at that point. She's like too young, but she's very interested in it. The whole Bob Balaban narrator thing, I really love that. He would just pop up anywhere and have facts. Even the cinematography looked like a film from 1965, just like perfectly restored, just the way they did the zooms and the colors, and you know, especially like Tilda Swinton when she walks in with like her big swooping like social services cape kind of thing. I was like, oh my god, are we in Technicolor? I like the way the camera moves. I mean, sometimes it feels like, you know, in the beginning, like we have a small camera rig in a dollhouse or something. It moves so perfectly. There's a lot of really great pans. They look like some of them took forever to do, but it also kind of reminded me of even that American Express commercial he did a couple of years ago. That looks like it took a long time to plot out, but when it's like all done perfectly, it looks like there's like a mathematical equation to how it actually worked out. It does feel like a weird little quirky 60s movie a lot of the time, but it's like the 60s is understood by someone who watched the 60s through movies and television, you know, not someone who actually lived in the 60s. The grown-ups are all supporting. Bruce Willis, Ed Norton, Bill Murray, Frances McDormand, Jared Gilman as Sam, and Kara Hayward as Susie. They're not honed, well-crafted kid actors. I think it really adds to the naturalism, and it reminds me of a film called The Little Fugitive, which was later a major influence on Truffaut's 400 Blows, and is actually a pretty good movie. And that had very natural acting, and some of the line reads in this, they felt like they were kids like almost putting on a play, that I was hearing it from their perspective, you know, that I was seeing the world from their view, you know, even the maps, it kind of feeds into his own style in a way. These kids were like so sweet, and so they just felt like real kids. I mean, they're super hip kid, and especially the girl, she looks like she's like from a French New Wave movie, and having this kind of French New Wave music definitely helps that. And I liked following these kids and through this like weird New England town. There's just such a fantasy to this that like took me back to being like in the 5th grade, you know. I felt like when you're watching it was like from an 11-year-old's perspective, you know. I think he knows in his direction, and you can tell that these kids aren't going to run away together and like live away from her parents forever. But I totally buy into it. Like, it's like, I don't care that I know they're gonna get caught. I buy into the fantasy. You know, you love that idea of, like, I think everyone had that kind of fantasy, like, me and this girl gonna just run away from everything, like live in the woods. This is one of those Wes Anderson movies that people will look back at through his filmography. I think it's a really, really kind of, it's almost, to me, it's like a special movie. So if you have seen Moonrise Kingdom and you would like to talk about it, then comment below in the comments, and subscribe if you would like to.